A move that has left the entire nation stunned. Prince William, the heir to the throne and a symbol of calmness and responsibility, has suddenly canceled all his appointments and personal engagements just hours after heartbreaking family news surfaced. The palace has not issued any official comment, but their silence has only deepened public concern. What could be so serious that it forced the man known for his unwavering royal discipline to stop everything? According to close sources, William has withdrawn from all activities, including private meetings that were supposed to remain confidential. Some insiders revealed that the Prince of Wales appeared deeply distressed. It's believed he left London late at night to return to his family, where a deeply personal emergency is said to be unfolding. This shocking development comes at a time when the royal family is already under intense pressure, from concerns about the health of senior members to persistent rumors surrounding Princess Catherine and the heavy burden of succession resting on William's shoulders. Now, people across the United Kingdom are asking the same question: what really happened? Is this merely a temporary reaction to unfounded rumors, or a sign that a true family tragedy is taking place behind palace doors? What do you think about Prince William's sudden decision? Could the palace be hiding something from the public eye? Share your thoughts in the comments below. The breaking headline. It began like any other morning in London. The palace gates gleamed under a gray sky, and royal correspondents stood ready for yet another carefully scheduled appearance. Prince William was expected to attend a major charity event, one that had been marked on the royal calendar for months. Cameras were set, reporters rehearsed their opening lines, and royal fans gathered outside with flags and flowers, hoping to catch a glimpse of the future king. Everything appeared routine, calm, and in control until it wasn't. Whispers began to spread through the crowd. A royal aide emerged briefly from behind the iron gates, speaking hurriedly into a phone. Moments later, the event's organizers began packing up. The mood shifted in seconds. Reporters exchanged nervous glances. Something had gone terribly wrong. Then came the announcement. The Prince of Wales will no longer attend today's engagement due to unforeseen personal circumstances. Unforeseen personal circumstances. Two words that sent shockwaves across the United Kingdom and beyond. What could have possibly happened to force Prince William to cancel an appearance at the last moment? Was there a security threat? Was someone hurt? Or had something more personal struck at the very heart of the royal family? The questions echoed across newsrooms, social media, and living rooms worldwide. Within minutes, every major outlet went live. Breaking news, declared one network. Prince William cancels appearance amid palace concern. Another reported. Analysts scrambled to gather details, but none came. Kensington Palace remained silent. The royal press office issued no further comment. The mystery deepened for a family known for maintaining control. This silence spoke volumes. Inside the palace, the mood was described as tense. Staff moved quietly, avoiding the cameras stationed outside. Someone had made an urgent phone call that morning, and what was said during that call would change the prince's entire day. Was it news from a doctor, a family emergency, or perhaps something connected to the king himself? Every possibility was considered, yet no one knew the truth. Outside, the public's imagination ran wild. Fans shared their worry online while royal watchers compared the event to previous royal emergencies. Some recalled the day Princess Diana's accident was first reported, when confusion, speculation, and sorrow filled the air. Could this be another moment that would mark royal history? For the reporters on site, the story was both thrilling and unsettling. The heir to the throne had vanished from public view without explanation. Each moment of silence from the palace only fueled the suspense. If the reason were minor, one commentator asked, would they really have canceled an event so suddenly? It was the question on everyone's mind. As the morning turned to afternoon, the royal world seemed to hold its breath. Behind those palace walls, something significant was unfolding. Something so personal, so unexpected that it forced Prince William, the man known for duty, stability, and composure, to step away from the spotlight. The headline had broken, but the story was only just beginning. The calm before the storm. Just 1 week earlier, everything seemed perfectly normal. Prince William was radiant as he stood beside dignitaries, shaking hands and exchanging smiles at a community center in London. Cameras flashed. Reporters praised his calm leadership and noted how confident he appeared stepping further into his royal role. There was no sign, not even the faintest hint, that anything was wrong. The prince's composure, his warmth, and his sense of purpose made it appear as though the monarchy was in safe hands. But was it all as serene as it looked? As the footage replays, his smile seems genuine. His tone was measured, his eyes steady. Yet those closest to him later described subtle moments. A distracted glance, a silent pause, a sigh between engagements. Could it be that the storm had already begun brewing quietly behind palace walls? Had Prince William been carrying a burden that no one else could see? Royal watchers are well aware that appearances in the royal family are rarely just about appearances. Every gesture, every outfit, every speech is carefully choreographed to maintain the image of stability. But beneath the polished exterior lies the human side of monarchy, the emotions, the fears, and the private heartbreaks that the cameras rarely capture. So what was happening in those unseen moments? Palace insiders later hinted that the prince had received several unexpected calls in the days leading up to his canceled appearance. Aides noticed a change in his routine. Meetings that were normally lighthearted grew tense. Reports suggest that he spent more time in private meetings with senior staff and made several visits to his father, King Charles. Was it a personal matter that concerned the king's health, or was it something far more emotional? Perhaps a situation involving another member of the family. The calm that the world saw was, in fact, the quiet before a breaking wave. Even the Duchess of Cambridge, known for her composed demeanor, was said to have grown unusually quiet during recent public engagements. Those who observed her closely noticed her eyes often drifted as if lost in thought. Could she have known what was coming? Then there was the public schedule. Royal planners made small adjustments, but at the time, no one questioned them. A postponed event here, a rescheduled meeting there. It all seemed routine. Only later did journalists piece together the pattern. These were not coincidences. They were signs that something serious was unfolding in private. As the narration continues, we revisit that week's press coverage. News headlines focused on lighter stories, royal fashion, charity work, and environmental campaigns. No one realized that behind those smiling photographs, the royal household was quietly preparing for devastating news that would soon reach the Prince of Wales. The calm before the storm wasn't perfect, deliberate, and silent. But silence, as history shows, often hides the deepest truths. When the breaking moment finally came, it did not just interrupt a royal schedule. It shattered the illusion of control that the palace had worked so hard to maintain. And for Prince William, it marked the beginning of a deeply personal crisis that no title or protocol could shield him from. The mysterious cancellation. The morning of the event began like any other royal engagement. The stage was set, cameras were in position, and the press was ready to broadcast Prince William's appearance to millions across the world. The event was a significant one, dedicated to a major charitable cause close to his heart. Invitations had gone out weeks earlier. Attendees included high-profile guests, government representatives, and members of the public eager to see the prince in person. Yet, just moments before his scheduled arrival, something changed. At precisely 9:45, the royal convoy that was expected to leave Kensington Palace did not move. Photographers stationed nearby began to sense that something was off. Aides moved in and out of the gates quickly, some speaking in hushed tones, others avoiding eye contact. What could have caused such a sudden disruption in a family known for flawless precision? Why cancel at the very last minute? A palace spokesperson appeared before the cameras, their expression grave. In a short, tightly worded statement, they confirmed the unexpected. The Prince of Wales will no longer attend today's engagement due to a private family matter. Private family matter. The phrase lingered in the air like a mystery too delicate to touch. Reporters immediately began digging for clues, their questions echoing across newsrooms. Was someone in the royal family unwell? Had there been an emergency at Balmoral or Windsor? The announcement spread like wildfire across media outlets. Within minutes, the news dominated headlines. Every television channel, every online platform, every royal commentator seemed to have only one question. What happened to Prince William? Theories began to form. Some speculated about health concerns. Others whispered about possible tensions within the family. Could it be connected to King Charles, whose recent public appearances had already stirred concern about his well-being? Meanwhile, at the venue where the prince was expected, guests were escorted out discreetly. The press was asked to remain patient, but silence filled the air. A few attendees described the atmosphere as eerily calm, as if everyone knew something serious had occurred, but no one dared to say it aloud. When a reporter shouted, "Is the prince all right?" and aides simply replied, "He is with his family." Those words were enough to ignite a wave of speculation. Social media erupted. Thousands of posts appeared within minutes. "Pray for Prince William." One message read. Others drew comparisons to past royal emergencies, noting how sudden cancellations have often preceded major announcements. The public, both curious and concerned, felt the same unease that once surrounded other royal tragedies. Could history be repeating itself? Inside the palace, sources later revealed that phones were constantly ringing. Meetings were postponed. Family members were contacted. There was no laughter, no movement, just an air of anxiety that hung heavy in every corridor. One insider described it as a day that stopped time. The prince, known for his calm under pressure, reportedly withdrew into private quarters, unreachable, even by his closest advisors. The cancellation was more than an unexpected schedule change. It was a sign. Something had disrupted the steady rhythm of royal life, something powerful enough to make a future king retreat from the public eye. As journalists pieced together fragments of information, the real story remained hidden behind stone walls and locked doors. What had happened within that palace that morning? What could have possibly shaken Prince William so deeply? The mystery was far from over, and the silence only made it louder. Inside the palace walls, as the outside world buzzed with speculation, the atmosphere inside Kensington Palace grew unbearably tense. Behind the grand stone facade, where the sound of the city faded into silence, the royal household was in turmoil. Phones rang, doors closed softly, and voices were lowered to whispers. Something serious had unfolded, and only a handful of people knew the full truth. What could have caused such secrecy in a family accustomed to global scrutiny? What was so delicate that it demanded total silence from even the most trusted aides? Sources later described the mood that morning as chillingly quiet. Prince William's private secretary was seen pacing the long corridor, his phone pressed tightly to his ear. The Duchess of Cambridge, though unseen by the public, was said to be nearby, offering comfort behind the scenes. Staff, who normally moved with rehearsed precision, now appeared uncertain, hesitant. Even the palace guards, stoic as ever, seemed to stand a little straighter, aware that something was unfolding beyond their command. Inside one of the private drawing rooms, an urgent meeting had been called. Senior aides gathered around an antique table where decisions that shaped the monarchy had been made for generations. The air was thick with tension. A royal messenger had delivered troubling news so personal that it would not be shared with the press. Those who heard it knew instantly that this was not a matter of scheduling or protocol. It was family. It was pain. But what was the news? Was it connected to the king's health, which had been the subject of quiet concern in recent months? Or did it involve another member of the royal family, someone whose struggles had long been hidden from the public eye? The palace has endured many storms over the decades, from abdications to scandals. But this moment felt different. It was not political. It was deeply human. Prince William reportedly took the call himself. Witnesses say he listened in silence, his expression unreadable, his hand gripping the phone. When the conversation ended, he remained seated for several moments, staring out of the window toward the palace gardens. No words were spoken. It was then that he made the decision to withdraw from his public engagement. Duty would wait, Family came first. Meanwhile, the royal communications team scrambled to contain the situation. Every word of the official statement was weighed carefully. The phrase private family matter was chosen not only for its vagueness, but also for its protection. The palace knew that the world would demand answers, yet revealing too much would only invite intrusion into an already painful reality. As the day wore on, reporters camped outside the palace gates. Helicopters circled overhead, yet inside, behind the mood remained solemn. Meals went untouched. Meetings were canceled. The few staff who spoke later described the day as one they would never forget. The day the palace grew quieter than it had been in years. And still the questions lingered. What could have driven the future king to such visible distress? What truth was too heavy for the crown to bear in public? The silence inside those palace walls was not just about privacy. It was about protection. Something sacred, something deeply personal was unfolding, and the world was only beginning to sense its magnitude, the devastating family news. By midday, the mystery surrounding Prince William's disappearance from the public eye had reached fever pitch. News outlets speculated endlessly, but inside the palace, the truth had already been spoken. And it was far more devastating than anyone outside those gates could have imagined. The phone call that had changed everything carried with it the weight of grief. It was not political, it was not ceremonial, it was personal, heartbreaking, and deeply human. A family member, someone close to the heart of the prince, had fallen gravely ill. Royal insiders later revealed that the call came from a private doctor, one trusted by the royal household for decades. The tone of the message was serious, urgent, and final. The moment Prince William heard the words, time seemed to stand still. What do you do when duty collides with emotion? How do you continue to wave, smile, and deliver speeches when your heart is breaking inside? For a man trained to balance humanity with protocol, this was the moment that tore those worlds apart. The prince's immediate reaction was one of disbelief. He reportedly rose from his seat and asked the messenger to repeat the information, hoping somehow it had been a mistake. But it was not. The details were clear. A close relative's condition had taken a sudden turn, and the palace was preparing for the worst. Those in the room described the air as heavy, filled with a silence that seemed almost sacred. The heir to the throne, known for his composure and strength, was suddenly just a son, a brother, and a man confronted with loss. While the nation wondered why the prince had vanished from his royal duties, William was already on his way to be with his family. His convoy left quietly through a side gate, avoiding the press. Cameras continued rolling outside the main entrance, unaware that the story was unfolding miles away in private. One witness later recalled seeing the prince's vehicle speeding past in near total silence. The windows darkened, the atmosphere somber. Inside the hospital, the scene was equally tense. Security was discreetly heightened. Family members arrived separately to avoid drawing attention. The gravity of the situation was unmistakable. The royal family, for all their wealth and power, were reminded once again that even the crown cannot shield them from the pain of human fragility. Back at Kensington Palace, staff were instructed not to speak to the media. The statement issued earlier that morning, a private family matter, was the only communication allowed. But the lack of information only fueled public speculation. Was it the king? Was it someone else within the royal circle? And most importantly, would the prince return to public life anytime soon? As night fell over London, the palace remained dark and still. The gates were closed, the flag unmoved, and the streets eerily quiet. For those watching around the world, one thing was certain. The devastating news that reached Prince William that morning had changed everything. Behind the royal titles and public image, the man destined to be king was living through one of the most painful days of his life, a son's burden. In the quiet corridors of the hospital, the weight of royalty faded into the background. There were no photographers, no cheering crowds, no ceremonial duties, only silence, concern, and the sound of steady footsteps echoing down polished floors. Prince William, once the image of composure and control, now carried the burden of both a son and a future king. The devastating family news had pierced through the armor of royal life, reminding the world that even heirs to the throne are not spared from pain. But how does a man born into duty face a moment of helplessness? How does a prince carry a private grief under the world's gaze? Those close to the royal family said that William remained by his loved one's bedside for hours. Doctors entered and left quietly, their expressions solemn. Staff offered tea and comfort, but words felt meaningless. The weight of legacy pressed upon the prince's shoulders. He was not only grieving, he was already thinking about the future, about his father, about the institution he would one day lead. Was it fair that a man could not even mourn without the shadow of the crown following him? It is said that during those long hours, William reflected deeply on the fragility of life. The monarchy, built on ceremony and tradition, can sometimes appear timeless and unshakable. Yet moments like this expose its humanity. Behind every title lies a person, a son who worries, a husband who fears, a father who must stay strong for his children. Those who have seen William in private describe him as deeply devoted to his family. His children, George, Charlotte, and Louis, are the center of his world. His wife, Catherine, has been his anchor. But even anchors can feel the pull of the storm. Royal historians often draw parallels between William and his late mother, Princess Diana. Like her, he carries an open heart, a sense of empathy that sometimes conflicts with royal restraint. As the prince sat quietly in the hospital that day, many believe memories of Diana flooded his mind. Her compassion, her strength, and her untimely loss. Could it be that in this moment of uncertainty, he felt once again the ache of losing her? Did that memory shape how he handled this new wave of sorrow back at Kensington Palace? Advisors debated how to move forward. Some urged the release of more information to calm the growing media storm. Others insisted on privacy, warning that the public's hunger for answers could turn tragedy into spectacle. William, however, made his decision clear. Family first, duty later. Those were the same words Diana had once spoken, and now her son was living them. As the hours passed, the prince finally stepped out of the hospital into the cool evening air. Cameras had gathered nearby, but none were allowed close. He lowered his head, his expression unreadable, and entered the waiting car. It was a picture that spoke volumes. A man torn between two worlds. A prince weighed down by sorrow, yet bound by responsibility. That night, as the palace lights dimmed and the city fell silent, one truth became clear. Behind the grandeur of the crown beats the heart of a man who feels, who loves, and who carries the heavy burden of being both human and royal. For Prince William, that burden had never felt heavier than it did now. The public reaction. When the palace gates remained closed for a second day, the silence became deafening. Across Britain, television anchors repeated the same line. Prince William has canceled all upcoming engagements due to a private family matter. But by now, those 5 words had sparked a storm of speculation. What was the true nature of this crisis? Was the king's health in decline? Had tragedy struck the royal household once again? Or was something even deeper unfolding behind those guarded walls? The world wanted answers. Cameras lined up outside Kensington Palace and Windsor Castle, their lenses trained on every shadow, every vehicle, every movement of staff. News networks replayed footage of the prince's last public appearance, analyzing his expressions frame by frame. Did he look tired? One commentator asked. Was that a sign of worry? Another questioned. In the absence of facts, even silence became a clue. Social media exploded with theories. The hashtag #PrayForWilliam began trending within hours, followed by a wave of messages from royal fans across the globe. Some sent prayers and heartfelt words of support. Others speculated wildly, convinced that the royal family was hiding something monumental. Within 24 hours, millions were watching and waiting. The world's attention had shifted entirely to the heir to the throne and the mystery surrounding his sudden disappearance from public life. Meanwhile, reporters stationed near the palace described an unusual stillness. The staff, often polite and talkative, avoided the cameras. Deliveries came and went in silence. Even the royal guards, famous for their composure, appeared tense. A veteran journalist whispered into his microphone, "I have covered the royal family for over 30 years, and I have never seen a lockdown like this." At Westminster, members of Parliament were asked for comment. Some urged respect for the family's privacy. Others admitted concern, noting that any disruption in royal duties often signals something significant. International media outlets from Washington to Sydney picked up the story, amplifying the tension. Everyone wanted to know, where was Prince William, and what had shaken the monarchy so deeply? Then came the first photograph. A grainy image captured the prince's car entering a private estate in Norfolk. The windows were tinted, the faces hidden, but the public had its first glimpse of movement. Theories reignited instantly. Was he visiting a family member? Was the Duchess with him? What did this mean for upcoming royal events? Through it all, the palace maintained its silence. Every request for comment was met with the same response. "We will not be providing further details at this time," but that silence only made the mystery grow. Royal commentators reminded the public that the family's restraint often conceals the most personal of pains. They compared this moment to the days before the world learned of Princess Diana's tragic accident, when confusion and fear gripped a nation desperate for the truth. By the end of the week, the story had reached every corner of the globe. Crowds gathered outside royal residences, holding candles and notes of sympathy. Television anchors spoke in hushed tones as if preparing the nation for bad news. The uncertainty was unbearable. The people who adored Prince William were now watching, praying and waiting, knowing that whatever had happened, it was not merely a matter of protocol. Something had touched the royal family at its deepest level, and the entire world could feel the weight of it. Silence and support. As the world speculated, the royal family did what it has always done best: retreated into silence. For days, no official word came from the palace. The flag over Kensington remained motionless, and every gate stood closed. Reporters waited in the rain, hoping for a glimpse of reassurance. But none came. Inside, the family gathered in private unity, choosing quiet strength over public display. But what did that silence mean? Was it protection, or was it pain? Was the monarchy shielding the truth or simply taking time to grieve? Then, without warning, the Duchess of Cambridge appeared in public for the first time since the news broke. Dressed in simple black, she stepped out briefly to attend a private church service. Her expression was calm, but solemn. She offered a small smile to the crowd, yet her eyes told a different story. One of exhaustion, one of emotion held carefully in place. Cameras flashed, questions were shouted, but she said nothing. Her silence, more powerful than words, told the world everything it needed to know. Something serious was unfolding, and the family was standing together through it. Inside the palace, sources described a mood of prayer and reflection. Prince William had reportedly spent long nights speaking with his father and close advisors, balancing duty with emotion. Every decision now carried symbolic weight. Could he continue fulfilling royal obligations while tending to family pain? Would the monarchy risk revealing too much? Or would it choose dignity through discretion? These were the questions echoing within the very walls of the palace itself. Meanwhile, the public response was changing. What began as speculation had transformed into empathy. Across the United Kingdom, church leaders called for prayers for the royal family. Outside Windsor, people left flowers and handwritten messages. "We stand with you," one note read. "Family first," said another. Even the harshest royal critics softened their tone. For a moment, the monarchy was no longer an institution. It was a family enduring heartbreak in full view of the world. In the midst of the silence, a rare statement emerged, not from the palace directly, but from a close friend of the couple. Speaking quietly to the press, the source said, "They are focusing on their family right now. The prince's priority is his loved ones, and the Duchess is his greatest strength. The words, though brief, resonated deeply. For many, it was a reminder that behind every title lies a human heart. As evening fell, the lights of Kensington Palace flickered against the dark London sky. The city outside was alive with whispers, but inside, the royal family remained steadfast, clinging to faith and unity. No press conference, no interviews, no clarifications, only presence, love, and support. In that silence, the nation saw something it had not seen in a long time. A royal family united not by duty or tradition, but by the simple, unspoken power of standing together when the world is watching. The future of the crown. As the days passed and the world waited for answers, one truth began to emerge. This moment would leave a lasting mark on the British monarchy. Behind closed doors, Prince William was quietly stepping into a new phase of responsibility. The crisis that had shaken the royal family had not only revealed their humanity, but had also tested the very foundation of their strength. The question now lingered in the air. How would this change the future of the crown? Royal historians often say that every generation of monarchs faces a defining moment, a storm that reshapes their purpose. For the Queen, it was the tragic loss of Diana and the test of public trust. For King Charles, it has been the challenge of modernizing tradition while preserving dignity. And for Prince William, this was that moment, the collision of family grief and royal duty. Could he carry both with grace? Could he protect his family's privacy while maintaining the faith of a watching nation? Those who saw him in the days that followed spoke of a man transformed. The easy smile and relaxed posture had given way to a new gravity, a quiet determination that seemed to echo his father's steadiness and his mother's compassion. Advisors described him as deeply reflective, spending long hours in discussion about the monarchy's direction, about the role of transparency, and about how the royal family must evolve in an age when silence no longer shields them from public scrutiny. Catherine, always the pillar beside him, played her part with grace. Her composure during public appearances reminded the world of the quiet strength that defines true royalty. Together they stood not just as a couple, but as symbols of a monarchy adapting to pain and resilience alike. Yet the question remained, would this private heartbreak strengthen their bond with the public, or create distance between the crown and the people it serves? The palace, aware of growing curiosity, finally released a brief statement. It thanked the public for their compassion and understanding, and it confirmed that the prince and his family were focusing on recovery and reflection. Though no details were given, the tone was gentle, almost humble. It was a reminder that even power has its limits, and that even kings and queens must bow to life's uncertainties. In the weeks that followed, something remarkable began to happen. The public, instead of demanding answers, began to rally behind the royal family. Newspapers that once criticized now offered words of empathy. The story shifted from scandal to strength, from suspicion to solidarity. The nation was witnessing not the downfall of a monarchy, but the rebirth of its humanity. And so, as the lights of Buckingham Palace glowed softly against the London night, the future of the crown seemed both fragile and strong, a paradox held together by faith, family, and love. In that silence, in that pain, Prince William had found his defining moment. The burden of the crown had never been heavier, but neither had its purpose been clearer. In the end, what began as a sudden cancellation became a moment that revealed the heart behind the crown. Prince William's quiet withdrawal from the spotlight reminded the world that even kings in waiting bleed, fear, and grieve. Through silence and sorrow, the royal family showed that strength is not found in ceremony, but in compassion and unity. The public, once filled with curiosity, turned instead to empathy, standing not before royalty, but before a family enduring loss. As time passes, the mystery of those days may fade, but the image of a son carrying both a crown and a cross will remain. Perhaps this is what true leadership looks like. Not perfection, but humanity under pressure. The storm has passed, but its lessons will echo through the halls of history, and for the future king, it was a reminder that the greatest battles are often fought in silence.